Welcome to OState Daily. Casey Porter here. So glad that you decided to tune in. Fans, today we have a very, very, very special guest, play-by-play voice for the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Geoff Haxton joins OState Daily. Special because it's cool to get to talk to anybody on the other side. Very special to me because I grew up knowing Geoff Haxton. He actually grew up in Stillwater, went to Ripley, got to umpire some of his games. I got to see just how good he was on the baseball diamond. So, Geoff Haxton, how the hell are you, man?
Hey, Casey, man, it's so good to be with you.
Yeah.
It's good to see you on the internet, and feel like I haven't lost complete touch with you, even though it's been 30 years. 25 years, however much. But this is a lot of fun for me. Thanks for having me on.
So the best story I can tell about you, of course, back then in the late 90s, Mohole, they had a team, and they had one guy named Monty Larman who threw like 617 miles an hour. I'm sure you knew all about that, right? And they had one catcher that could catch him that was either always at a hog show or always at a rodeo. So, like, you were skating the whole time you were doing the home plate, right? So I remember it's the All-Star game, whatever conference it is that you went to Ripley, whatever conference that is.
Cimarron Valley Conference.
It was the Cimarron Valley Conference. It was the All-Star game. It was in Kearney, which the left field has it's like the Green Monster left field, and it's like 120 feet to the fence, right? And Monty Larman's pitching, and I'm skating because, matter of fact, we actually had a decent catcher that day. And you just absolutely hit like a 120 mile an hour just dart off that left field wall, and it just rung. And I just remember it because that fence was so short. You got to first base, and you're like, oh, damn, I better hurry up and get to second base because that fence isn't very far, right?
It's crazy. I'm so glad that you remember that because the thing that I remember the most is we had so many Ripley guys, they split us up.
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
So one of the guys that's still my friends from back in high school, his name is Bo Mitchell. He lives out.
Oh, yeah.
He lives out east of Stillwater. And Bo's at the plate, and they decided to stick me and my no outfield playing rear end out in left field.
Yeah, I remember that.
Okay, so Bo hits. I mean, the laziest little pop up to left field, and I'm like, that's a pop up. I got to go get it. And I turn around and run into said wall and slice my knee, the fence, that chain link, slice my knee wide open. And I was like. And, of course, the ball's gone, and you're like, boy, that was stupid. But I can see that right now. The sun was setting behind him. Ball goes up. I go, that's just a pop-up. I got to get it. Every time I ventured out into the outfield, Casey, something like that happened. So there was a reason I was an infielder.
Yeah.
And then there became a reason that I was a DH in my very, very short college baseball career at Southern Nazarene. But those are some great memories, man. I appreciate you bringing that up.
Yeah. I'm just glad they built a new gym because when I used to referee at the old Ripley gym, I loved the gym itself, but we had to you had to go up those stairs that were like 2 flights high, and there was like no guardrails, and you didn't know, like, if you're going to fall through them or whatever. You remember that old room up there, don't you?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. There were so many nooks and crannies.
Yeah.
I mean, people wonder why I love Hoosiers so much. And it's not an exaggeration. In the mid-90s,
you grew up in one.
We're still playing in WPA project gyms. Mm-hmm. We're still playing in gyms with stages and 3 rows on each side.
Yeah.
And you think about that Agra gym and the old Kearney gym. Some of these places that should be condemned, and we were playing in them and
Coil.
Just awful. And I remember them saying, you'll get to play in the new gym your senior year. 1997 was the first year that I was gone. They got in the new gym over there. Now Doug's got like 7 gyms over there now.
Yeah. Yeah, he does. You want to know how old I am. Of course, I go back and referee every now and then. We're talking about Doug Scott, your coach there. I walk in and I go, hey, the new gym. And they're like, dude, this is like 30 years old. This is no longer a new gym, right? I'm like, it's new to me.
New gym.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So do you keep in touch with Doug Scott and Sean Spiva and you said Bo Mitchell and all those guys? Coach Hoffman?
Coach Hoffman, he was an assistant on everything that we did.
Right.
And Sean Sean and Bo were a year in front of me. You remember the only two athletes that we had, you might not because it was 1996. The only two athletes we had in the baseball side of that in 1996 were me and Zach Cazell.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, Zach went to OSU, by the way.
Zach went to Centenary and then to OSU and played basketball and baseball at Oklahoma State. Mm-hmm. We had one senior, James Cooper. So it was a very small class. James was our center on our basketball team. So I keep track of those guys. Some used to be in a fantasy football league with Sean and those guys until I left town. Yeah. But Bo Mitchell would be my best friend that I still keep in touch with and see when I get up to Stillwater, do my best. He goes to all the OSU basketball games. And his daddy, Bobby, goes to all the football and basketball and baseball games. So I keeping track with those guys. And then with Coach Scott, he and I talk quite a bit.
Nice.
We had a really solid relationship in high school and after. But one of my favorite things that makes me feel good is I'll be calling Texas Tech in Texas, and he'll be rolling around Payne County and say, hey, I want to get this text, and I just hear it in his voice. I'm listening to you on Sirius XM.
Oh, nice.
And I'm like, that's sweet.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
That is. In a Jeep with the top off.
Yeah. I've never seen anybody run or bike more than him. Yeah. So I'm sure he's got his ears in when he's doing that. And what's crazy about Doug is Doug's passed about 30 classes through Ripley, one through Prague, and he looks younger than every single graduate that he's put through. So he is he's something else.
Yeah, he is still all business. Hey, man, I know you said you went to college there at SNU, but how'd you get into the broadcasting? You started, I know, at ORU, but how did all that work for you?
Okay, this is kind of a two-parter. In February of 1995, my buddy Kurt Merrill, who is a Stillwater police officer and has been ever since he could be, we were in the same grade. He went to Stillwater. I went to Ripley. Kurt's about 6'3", 310, played offensive line for the Pioneers in their state semifinal game right behind your shoulders. That's about where I was sitting to watch him play. He got a couple passes for Big Monday. And KU's in town. Dick Vitale is in town for the first time ever.
Yeah.
And these passes, they didn't have assigned seats. His dad worked for Southwestern Bell, got us a couple passes. So here Kurt and I are wandering around Old Gallagher.
Yeah.
And looking for a place that we can sit. The student section's already filled, which there's tiny, at that point. So I go to the top row of the north side of Gallagher Hall. And there's Mike Gundy in a suit.
Oh, wow.
And he's an assistant at this point, or maybe even a GA. Heck, I don't know.
95 for Simmons. For Simmons' first year, he was the assistant coach. Yeah.
Okay. Well, he's been only not playing for 7 years. And so I take the program and I go over to Coach Gundy and I get his autograph. And then I fight my way down to Vitale and I get his autograph on the program. And then Bill Tegans is sitting there. And on the back of the program is, it's Bill and he's got his arms folded and he's on his desk. 6-time Oklahoma Sportscaster of the Year, Bill Teagans. And I go down and I tap Bill on the shoulder and I say, Bill, I think I'd like to do something like you do one day. And he goes, all right, here's what's going to happen. I want you to come and talk to me about it at any time, but I'm about to take the air right now for OSU versus Kansas. And he signed over him his name. And that's the day that I knew I wanted to be a broadcaster.
Wow.
That's my prized possession. I have probably, 20 conference championship, Final Four ring, College World Series rings. That's my prized possession that I have that I will guard with my life because of, just how important that day was. And then the game, Zach Cazell was actually on a visit.
Yeah.
And he had 2 seats. He was by himself. So Big Kurt and I get right behind the stinking bench and share a seat. Basically, I'm in.
Nice.
Don't we all have these Gallagher Iba, you're sitting in the row stories? We all have them.
Yeah.
So I think I was sitting basically in the row when Keontae goes up and dunks it right in what's his name's face. The place is just, you can still hear that sound.
Oh yeah,
of old Gallagher, and just like you wondered if you were going to survive it, almost. Are my ears and my soul going to survive the sound that's being produced here? And that goes back. You talk about history. I mean, I was in my mother in 1978 when the Daryl Montesmith match happened. Mm-hmm. And apparently they had $9,000 in there that night, and the fire marshal's going crazy and everything.
Yeah.
So the OSU roots go way, way back.
Yeah.
But the other one was I had a parabolic mic for Fox Sports, and at about your left shoulder 40 before the game, I looked up to the old press box and pointed there and said, I'm going to be in that booth. I'm going to be in that seat one day. And that's just kind of how I attacked all this with my whole soul, to try and get to wherever I can go, which right now is Lubbock, Texas. I'm sitting in Brooklyn as we speak. We're playing St. Joe's tomorrow at Barclays. Year 9 at Texas Tech. It's been a fantastic, unbelievable, crazy ride. I remember, not liking Tech at all growing up, and then not liking Lubbock at all. And then the Lord said, you will move there, and you are going to be there for a while. And that's been fun.
Well, I tell you too, I mean, there's been a time where you do the basketball and the baseball, and there's been a time at Texas Tech where, obviously that's a cool job, but not nearly as cool as it's been since you've been behind the mic, because you talk about historic highs for the baseball program and basketball program. A lot of great fortune in the timing too.
Yeah, I mean, the only Big 12 basketball championship I was on the mic for. Furthest they've ever been in baseball to the Final Four. I was on the mic for 3 Big 12 baseball championships, 2 trips to Omaha. The Elite 8 that ended losing to Villanova, and Villanova won it all. Coming within 2 seconds in a bad closeout of winning the national championship in basketball in Minnesota, and just crazy things, like in this basketball program's history. And this doesn't mean anything, but to me, but I've been here longer than every basketball coach except for 3. And this is our third basketball coach since I've been here. And Grant McCaslin, who's I'm just ecstatic about. But it was Gerald Myers,
Chris Beard.
I beat him out.
Okay.
He was there for 5 years.
Yeah.
Help me out, the OSU guy.
James Dickey.
James Dickey. Golly.
Yeah.
Couldn't pull it.
Yeah.
So kind of wild that I've been able to be here this long after 11 years at Oral Roberts. So there's a long answer.
Yeah. Any tornness to you? I mean, now that of course you have OSU in your soul 'cause you grew up that way. I mean, it just happens. I tell people all the time, I don't ever remember becoming an OSU fan. It just happened because I grew up there, right? So that's you as well. You grew up in Stillwater. But now you're the professionally, you've been with Tech, and that's your job. So is it a weird situation for you, especially like 2019 when Oklahoma State and Texas Tech in baseball? I mean, that was just the craziest series of all time. Is there any tornness there for you?
Oh, I'll tell you. With baseball and basketball, it's not as much because I'm working for those teams. But with football, I have nothing to do with Texas Tech football.
Right.
For me, it's crazy. Casey, it's nuts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I'm the same as you. When I had my wedding little photo album, there wasn't. And I had to spend my first 13 years in the Duncan area, where there are no OSU fans,
right.
A few. But every picture that I was in an OSU T-shirt.
Yeah.
And now my son, 13 years old, with his daddy, the voice of Texas Tech, is going to school every day in an OSU T-shirt.
Oh, in an OSU T-shirt.
In an OSU T-shirt.
Oh, wow. I didn't expect that. I didn't see that coming.
Well, it's because the way Daddy acts when OSU's playing football.
Okay. Nice. Even this year he's wearing the shirt every day.
Every day.
I'm being honorary there, Geoff.
Yeah. No, and he's saying, Dad, they're clowning me. I'm like, hey, you have been so spoiled.
Yes, no doubt.
You have no clue. Those kids, when I was growing up down in Empire, Oklahoma, they used to come looking for me when OSU would lose, which was a lot.
6 or 7 times a year, yeah.
They would come looking for me. Now, luckily, when I was 13, I got to move to Stillwater. And that stopped. But there's a lot of conflict for me when it comes to the pigskin. And our play-by-play guys got in trouble.
Sure.
And I got to do the football game, and I'll be damned if it's not OSU.
Yeah.
You want to talk about just sweating a day. Oh my Lord. And then I'll never get to doing a Tech football game again because I think they had like 3 first downs and OSU shut them out. And I remember going, gosh, can I get something for the highlight reel? Anything?
And it was live?
Thanks, folks. Yeah, I did the game on the network.
Oh, man.
Yeah, because our guys, they got suspended for a game. So
yeah, right.
The guys that have done it, Brian Jensen and John Harris. And so they put me up there with my the team that I've, loved since 1985 coming in there. And didn't score a point. Didn't score. So,
they're going to score a point Saturday. Talk about the game. Of course, Taj Brooks, very good. Barrett Morton, very good. This was a year both Oklahoma State and Texas Tech had aspirations for a Big 12 championship. Tech at least got off to a good start. Both teams' defenses have derailed the seasons for these two squads. So talk about Texas Tech and kind of the vibe around Lubbock right now.
The vibe is so they're like so close, Oh, we've been so close, and it's been kind of just a weird season. Texas Tech, since Patrick Mahomes, has had extreme trouble keeping quarterbacks healthy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I mean, we're talking.
Alan Bowman was one of them. Yeah.
Yeah, Bowman. Well, Bowman got hurt against West Virginia. Then Bowman got hurt against Oklahoma, and then he never was the same. He vanished and went to Michigan, and then it turns up back in Stillwater. But he is one of those guys that was hurt. So, and I remember I had a really good seat for the West Virginia hit. It was one of the nastiest hits I've ever seen. He got sandwiched. This is when he had the punctured lung. Guy's been through a lot.
Yes.
I mean, he got drilled, and then he was diving for the pylon against OU in a game that was very, very, very close. And then that's when he hurt his collarbone again. So those were just the Tech injuries. And so keeping Baron Morton upright has been a huge goal for this team. So they haven't run him as much. I think if they would take that risk, of course, he's already had to come out of a game. Will Hammond came into a game because Baron's shoulder wasn't good. They love Will Hammond. He's a freshman. They think he's going to be terrific, and he was terrific till he spun into a semi truck and fumbled the ball. And next thing you know, you're on the losing end of that game. They got just their hearts ripped out against TCU. Yeah. They got blasted by Baylor. They went and beat Arizona and beat Arizona State, and it's Taj time. And there are some good targets for Baron Morton. Where I really love Texas Tech is at tight end. Mason Tharp is a 6'8", 6'7" tight end that's extremely talented. And then Jalen Conyers is a West Texas guy that went to Arizona State, OU, Arizona State, and now Texas Tech. He can run some wildcat. The offensive line is in some trouble. They've allowed Barron or Will Hammond to get drilled a couple of times where it was coming off the edge and they didn't see it, and that shouldn't be happening because Caleb Rogers is such a veteran, and I'm not putting all the blame on him because they've had a few injuries there. They've had a few injuries in the defensive middle or the trenches. You just really don't know. It's a weird team, Casey, because they'll alternate kickers. They alternate place kickers. And all year
they kick the ball now? No, Joey McGuire seems like it goes for every fourth down.
Yeah, and that hasn't been as much this year.
Okay.
Right? It hasn't been nearly as much because the book that they lived by for the first 2 years started to burn them a little bit.
Yeah, it did.
In situations where and then including myself, because I've watched Gundy punt the ball for 18 years. Yeah. And so I'm like, you guys, you don't have to punt it every time, but you might want to mix one in on 4th down and 9 from your own 35. I mean, you might want to mix one in or, here and there.
Time and place, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so they've started to do that a little bit. It hasn't been as riverboat gambler as I've seen. This is year 3. But, Joey's done some amazing work. I mean, if you go – so Joey had a winning record in Big 12 play last year, the year before. It looks like this year. That hadn't been done at Texas Tech since 2006.
Oh, really? Wow.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Well.
2009.
Tuberville?
2009 was the year they won, I think, 9 games. It is interesting to listen to Texas Tech folks because they revere and they have to go back to 2008 to feel good. To feel really good, they have to go all the way back to 2008 and crash.
Was that the last Leach year?
Yeah.
So Tuberville came in 9, right?
I'm not certain on the timetable because that's the year he snatches the ball against Texas and dances down the sideline with no time left.
Yeah.
And I'm over there thinking, my God, he's got 8, 10-win seasons. And again, how spoiled. And the people that know football in Lubbock, they revere and respect what OSU has done. And I think that's why they're like, we better get it done this year because it hasn't happened very much. Now, they did win 2 in a row there after losing 9 in a row.
Yeah.
They lost 9 in a row, won 2
OSU,
in a row.
yes.
Yeah, against OSU. So Taj Brooks is terrific. He's like trying to tackle a very mobile cinder block.
Yeah.
Extremely talented. One thing though that watch for this on Saturday. If it kind of looks at times like the old Kansas State quarterback hop run offense.
Yeah.
If he's doing that, that means they're not blocking well.
Yeah, right.
Okay, I've seen him. He does this hop. All right, I got to take this lane. This is the best one that I can find. If he can hit holes in stride, it's going to be 7 yards.
Yeah, right.
And against Oklahoma State, it might be 50 yards. So, I mean, I'm sorry. It's the worst tackling Oklahoma State.
You're saying that as a fan.
It's horrid.
Yeah, it is bad.
So that's the thing, though, that this offensive line hasn't been great, but he doesn't look shifty, but he is. Mm-hmm. And the thing he does best, and this is going to get him a big time NFL job, is he's a pass blocking fool. He can really pass block. Yeah. So, what are we at? Like a 3-point line?
Yeah, 4.5, I think.
Yeah, it's Big 12 crazy because I feel like Taj Brooks going to run for 270 yards.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no doubt. So what's up with the Texas Tech defense? That's why the line is as low as it is. It's been almost as disappointing as Oklahoma State's, I think.
Hard to pin it, but you're right because Coach DeRuyter at times.
Tim DeRuyter?
Yeah, he's put out a product that you're like, that's a damn good defense.
Yeah, right.
Of course, he had 2 6-year defensive tackles in Jalen Hutchings and Tony Bradford. And those guys were anchors that had been through Matt Wells and into Joey McGuire and had seen everything and were really just drop the anchor boys. Let's put these 2 guys out there. And they never got hurt. And they weren't guys that you came away from. Did you see what Tony Bradford and Tony Hutchings did? No, we didn't. Oh, well, that's because they're taking up everybody else and allowing other guys to make plays.
Right, absolutely.
And Texas Tech has had linebackers. They have not had great corners and safeties, and they still don't.
Right.
And one thing that's really hurt them is Braden Lux, I think, is a really, really good player. I love watching Lux play. And he started the season kind of with a mystery injury. And they're kind of like, where is he? And when he's out there, they're much better. And when he's not, they're not quite as good. Mm-hmm. They had a fella, this one really stunk, Duda Banks. Is down there trying to keep, I can't remember who, out of the goal line and gets twisted up and gets a season-ending injury. He was their best down lineman. And so they're down him. And so I can't really put my finger on it on just exactly what the cause is, because I don't think that the offenses in the Big 12 are just like overly scary or anything like that, But they sure have given up a whole lot of points.
Mm-hmm. So, gonna say I saved the best for last, Hax. Got to ask you. Of course, I've talked to 2 of the Texas Tech players, Clayton Beater and Ryan Sublette. I love those 2 guys. Of course, Clayton Beater is now with the Yankees, but when he was with the Dodgers, I got to interview them for my main site, Dodgers Daily. Super, super fine young men. So I asked them about this. They all said it was really cool. They said you get to know them really well, know all about them. But your home run call, Adios Muchacho. Got to know all about it.
Adios Muchacho has roots at Oral Roberts, believe it or not.
Oh, okay.
Through my Summit years, mid-con years, which were 11 at ORU, I grew to hate South Dakota State University.
Oh, the Jackrabbits. Yeah. Okay.
And there's a lot of reasons behind that I won't get into, but I couldn't stand it. Now, their play-by-play guy, Tyler Merriam's one of my best friends in the world, and I love him to death. But the rest of them can jump off a cliff. So we're playing one day, and it's the usual 35 degrees, snow, sleet mix. And
in Brookings?
Yeah, it's the bottom of the ninth. It's the last game of the series. We've already got the series. They hit a little soft fly ball line drive to left field. And our guy makes the catch, comes up, one hops it, hoses this guy at home plate. And I jump up out of my chair, which I was glad to have a chair because back there was a day where they didn't have a press box and you sat on pallets.
Oh, yeah.
outside the press box or outside the dugouts. So I was just happy to have a roof over my head. I jumped out and said, he's out. Adios, muchacho. And then I said, and now there's a guy attacking our bus driver. I'll be back when I go down there to try and save Brad's life. So,
oh, fantastic.
Brad's this guy. He's a little guy. He drives us everywhere, and he's amazing. You know, you get attached to these bus drivers.
Sure.
And this guy, this behemoth, has Brad up against the chain link, shaking him like this.
Oh, really?
And so I didn't even send it to break. Flipped off the headset, ran down. What I didn't know was this South Dakota State fan was about 6'8", 270. I ran up against this mountain of a man. I'm like, oh, well, maybe.
Too bad, Brad. Sorry.
Brad, I'm going to get back up to the radio booth. And luckily we had some of our coaches and other guys that came in and diffused the situation because this guy was so mad that I guess Brad was just cheering for us. You know, Brad's not going to be talking trash or anything.
Absolutely right.
Yeah, he's 65 years old.
Yeah.
And so I get that settled down, and then I went back up and I listened to the call a couple times when I went back to the hotel. And went out to Lubbock, and I'm thinking, you know, I have so many stories on this because when I was Bitter Bob broadcaster in Oklahoma, when I was in Enid, there was an Oklahoma Association of Broadcasters luncheon.
Oh, yeah. OAB.
And Dave and John were there. Mm-hmm. And I asked Dave a question. I go, Dave, do you have to have catchphrases to be a good broadcaster? You know, because Dave's got 100 of them. And I just thought I didn't like it very much, you know, back then. And now here I am. I got like 3 or 4 of them. And but Orlando Garcia, our shortstop that year in 2017, it's my first game I've ever done for Texas Tech baseball. I've done quite a few basketball by this point. We had a wind day in Lubbock. It was blowing 50 out to left field.
So a normal day in Lubbock.
Yeah, it's sandblaster in your teeth, you know. And it goes out, and I said, adios, muchacho. And people went ballistic.
Oh, really?
They loved it so much. There were newspaper writers say, if I get to listen to Geoff Haxton say adios, muchacho for the rest of my life, I'll be thrilled. And it took off. I mean, we had, and Dave said,
that's the best part. It was organic. It wasn't something you forced. Yeah.
I just thought, you know, with the Hispanic heritage in Lubbock, Texas, and with the amount of Hispanic people, with the architecture, with the Goen band, and how, you know, all the Hispanic things that we have, I just thought it would fit perfectly. I don't think it'd fit. I don't think it'd fit any better anywhere on the planet. And Dave's had way more success, with T-shirts and just overall things with Pistols Firing and everything. But they did when we went to Omaha. They printed up T-shirts that said "Adios Muchacho," and then people wearing them all over the place. And then we had hats printed up. We've had towels printed up, and more T-shirts. And it just took off, and it's become a part of the Texas Tech baseball culture, along with their announcer being able to stick 100-mile-an-hour foul ball. That's that off the bat of Jace Young, who I hope becomes a Hall of Famer, and who helped the Tigers.
I'm not sure him and Josh ever made an out against Oklahoma State, by the way.
They didn't. They just didn't. There's something to that rivalry. I think it's and it's not going to happen this year, which has me just fired up, horribly mad.
Yes. OSU and Texas Tech don't play in baseball this year?
No.
Oh, that sucks.
No, it's just stupid. I feel like I can almost see in our really good teams, there's a swagger.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, no doubt. There's a toughness.
And Texas Tech is coming to town and you don't want any part of us.
It's a backyard brawl. Even when you beat them, you just feel like you've been in a fight. I mean, you're just worn out.
Who was like that for years and years and years? Gary Ward, Oklahoma State team.
No doubt.
I feel it's red and black and it's orange and black, but I just feel so much similarities to what I grew up watching and listening to Rex. I think that's why, you go back to that 2019 thing, I just tore my soul apart. Seeing Chief over there with his son, and his son is up underneath Chief's left arm, just bawling.
Yeah.
And I'm like elated in one sense and crushed in another sense.
Yeah.
And because I was Chief's son in 1988 there at Lewis Field when, the ball gets dropped. And I didn't realize at that point, that I didn't get to see OSU beat OU in football till 1995.
I was alive in 76. I was 3 years old, so I didn't get to see that. So born in 73, so I was 22 years old before I got to see OSU beat Oklahoma State, or OSU beat OU with my own eyes.
Me too. And I didn't realize that day in 88 how much it hurt my dad. My dad has 3 degrees from Oklahoma State, and I remember just seeing how down he was, and I was like, because we were sitting in the kids' end zone and we were blocked, and we thought he caught it. And
the East end zone,
the kids' end zone.
I was probably about 10 yards from you.
Oh, I guarantee you were. I guarantee we were elbow to elbow. And I do
go to buy at halftime.
I do have one great story for you on that, though, to end on a hilarious story. Do you remember down there? Because, see, I was 10. And by the way, I was at that game in Norman and went down on the field.
Oh, 95?
Yes, in 95.
Nice. Yeah.
I missed 97. I wish I could have got there for that, but I listened to Bill on that one. Who's again, my mentor and hero.
Yeah.
But I'll leave you with this. They sold those massive Cokes and the massive cups, and they still do. They still do. But the ice cubes were huge, and they had that circle in them.
Yeah, they did. They absolutely did. Yeah.
So my brother and I are down there, and this is a Bedlam game, and I can't remember what year. You remember they used to run right by you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And it felt like when it was OU, it felt like it was a damn infantry unit. I mean, they just the sounds they made, and again, if you're a kid and you see these full-grown men especially from a place like OU.
You're hearing the cleats on the concrete and all that. Yeah.
My brother reaches in, grabs a hunk of ice, runs over, and just spikes it off one of their helmets.
Oh, awesome. Awesome.
And didn't get in trouble for it.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I was like, man, I don't know how you get to this point where you love something so much and you can hate something so much.
Yeah.
I get in trouble for my OU hatred. Although I don't know about you, but my hatred's probably 90% gone.
Mine has lessened a lot since the conference has gone away. That really just, because I don't have to see them anymore. I don't have to deal with them anymore, right?
Yeah. It's especially, where I'm at.
Yeah.
Way out in
yeah, that's true.
West Texas. It's like they vanished.
Yeah. I hope they do. I hope they go the way of Nebraska and just vanish forever.
Yeah. But it's just like something that I don't know, man. It gets in your DNA.
It does.
And I see my dad's season ticket right over here.
Yeah.
And just tell me to shut up whenever you want to.
Oh no. I'm enjoying every second of this, man.
We both know where it was.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where you didn't do anything but roll up, put your car in park, walk up to the stadium, sit down with 32,000 people.
Yes.
Or 42 if Barry's running all over A&M.
Kansas.
It wasn't full that day.
Yeah.
It wasn't full that day.
Right.
Tulsa, you'd get a decent crowd, maybe 45. And this was back when it seated way over 50.
Yeah, right.
There was no tailgating. And now I take my 13-year-old son through this place, and it's a college football paradise.
It is. It's good.
The tailgating goes for miles, and then you take them to the artificial surface little field and run routes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Those are stuff that they're never going to forget.
No doubt. No doubt.
It's so far from, what we grew up with,
Yeah, it is.
where you were showing up just hoping. I remember getting up on Kansas State at homecoming up 21-0. I think lost like 45-21, something like that, to a Bill Snyder team.
Yeah.
They would have 40% of the stadium in purple.
Yes.
So now they got to find a way. The basketball thing, I also saw that at its finest.
Yeah, no doubt. With Eddie.
Holy cow.
And what's happened. Yeah, right.
And then you can show up and
it's crickets.
It's echo. You can hear yourself
sad
bouncing off the walls, So I don't know, selfishly, and this is not from any kind of fandom, I hope Lutz gets it going.
Yeah.
And it's going to be tough because this league's a bunch of piranha.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, we're good.
Yeah.
This current team, we're Elite Eight good. Wow. I'm just telling you. We have some of the best players that we've had right now.
Nice.
So I'm looking forward to seeing them in the Barclays here. We might get to play Texas in a couple days. So
hey, man, this has been great. We need to do it more often.
Casey, I love me some Guthrie. I'll look you up.